students should plan 1 to 2 years in advance so that they have ample time preparing, planning, and really looking at what requirements they need to fulfill to reach their destination. To research all global universities based on your interest, career goal, and making a list of universities, destinations you would like to really look at when it comes to spending your 3 to 4 years. Personal statement should be really worked on very, very well. And then, of course, the letter of recommendations, talking about how you have made a difference, really makes a difference.
So, a very warm welcome to our dear listeners to yet another episode of the podcast by ICAE. I am Dr. Sumbul Abid, your host for today. Are you also thinking of studying abroad but confused about the process and do's and don'ts? So, I think you are at the right place right now, and this podcast is definitely for you. We have with us Miss Astha Mahajan, Head Career Guidance and Counseling, DPS Mathura Road. Welcome you, Miss Astha. So, talking about Miss Astha, she's actually an experienced school counselor with a demonstrated history of working in the education management industry, skilled in training, public speaking, counseling psychology, and stress management as well. Strong community and social services, and a professional with a B.Ed focused on Bachelor's of Education from Indira Gandhi National Open University is a background as well. So I welcome you, Miss Astha, and I really would like you to have a word with our listeners also and introduce yourself.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's been 16 years in counseling now, meeting different students. In fact, I would say I have learned a lot. In my experience of counseling, in terms of how parents look at higher education, how students look at higher education, working with elite schools in Delhi. And I think it's a rich experience that I have gained over the years, and I'm always happy to help students and parents understanding their needs and then planning ahead.
So, Ms. Astha, I would really like to begin this podcast by asking you the very first question for the day, that what are the first steps a student should take when considering studying abroad, and how early should they start preparing if they are planning at all?
Sure. So I think first step in studying, if you really want to look at studying abroad, is to research all the possible global universities based on your interest, your career goal, and making a list of universities, destinations you would like to really look at when it comes to spending your 3 to 4 years, 4 years, definitely, studying what will lead to a successful career. That should be the first step. And I think all the students should plan 1 to 2 years in advance so that they have ample time preparing, planning, and really looking at what requirements they need to fulfill to reach their destination.
That is true. That is true. And how do you help the students, identify, if I say, which countries and which universities are the best fit for their academic and career goals? So how do you help them to identify that goal?
Yeah. So I think students first need to go under a self-assessment in terms of understanding themselves, how much they can achieve in a particular subject, and academically also. Yeah, understanding their academic goals, immediate and long term, and then probably also looking at destinations they will be comfortable with, their parents, discussing it with their parents, the financial budget, and also very important, the cultural fit. They must look at what culture they will be fit in so that they are mentally prepared and mentally at peace while studying in a particular culture, in a particular destination. So I think it's very important to understand oneself and understand where one would really like to be when it comes to learning and growing in terms of their future career plans also.
Ms. Asta, what are some key factors students should consider when selecting between different study abroad destinations? When we talk about, different countries, different destinations. So what are some key factors I would like to ask you that they should, keep in their mind?
Okay, so as I said, cost of living also is very important. At the same time, alongside finding that cultural fit, the cultural environment of that place, of that destination country where they are looking at studying. And definitely, finances, when it comes to finances, one needs to understand, how they will manage their cost of living while staying there on campus or off campus. Are there any scholarship opportunities? The programs that the universities are offering, the courses they really want to look up to, in higher education. How are those programs and courses rated across globally? Yeah. So, it's also a matter of what program you want to study in. And if there are ample universities in that destination that are providing that program, naturally student gets more inclined to those countries. For example, a lot of students go for engineering to the US, but a lot of students go for management to the UK. And that is how it depends on students' needs. Yeah, so we really need to identify that. Again, safety is also a concern for especially Indian parents. During the COVID times, we experienced this, that a lot of parents didn't want to send their kids abroad just because they thought that what if lockdown happens again and they get stuck there and there is no one to take care of them. So how mentally, emotionally also you are strong in order to adapt to those environments, and then how comfortable your parents are based on the safety and security provided by the universities on campus or while living in a particular region off campus. I think these are the key factors that distinguish between which country they have to really look at studying abroad.
Right. So, since you just now mentioned about the financial aspects also, which are also involved, once you are applying to the universities abroad, there's a question in my mind, how the students can actually navigate the options and opportunities they have with respect to scholarships or any kind of financial aids before applying to these universities, how they can navigate all this.
Absolutely. So, they should research on the scholarships being offered by different universities, and even which are those universities which provide financial aid and on what basis. So, definitely that's a lot of work. Children need to really start early, and for an year or so they should just research on which opportunities they can avail and what they can do in order to avail those opportunities. So working in terms of building a very strong profile, working on their entrance exam scores, preparing well in time, making sure that they note the deadlines for financial aid and scholarship. There are a lot of universities which have early deadlines, away from the regular deadline for applying to a university. Generally, if you're applying under scholarship or applying for a financial aid, one needs to apply early. So definitely taking note of the deadlines, because if you've missed the deadline, you've missed the opportunity. So I think it's very important, if you're looking at applying under scholarship or financial aid, take note of the timelines.
That's true. And, talking about, their application process, since you've just now mentioned it. So how can they ensure that their applications actually stand out when they're actually appearing and when they're actually into the process of the applications into these universities abroad?
I think this is a very significant question all students, will benefit from in terms of understanding the answer to this question, because everybody wants a good university. Everybody wants their dream choice of program and a dream destination, dream country, dream university, but definitely how to get in there, how to finally reach your dream destination. One needs to really work on, I think, first most important step in this regard would be to really work on their personal statements. A very compelling personal statement is a must, that really talks about how you stand out as a student. There are so many students applying from different regions globally. So it's very important to have a compelling personal statement which talks about your overall personality, ambition, aspirations, how you will make a difference in society. Also, your ideas, your goals, and what you have done in order to those minute steps, those little baby steps you have taken to highlight your aspirations, highlight your desires, and how you express yourself. All this is quite visible when admission officers out there read your personal statement. So I think personal statement should be really worked on very, very well. And then, of course, the letter of recommendations, you take from various professors, teachers, mentors you work under throughout the year, throughout your schooling, talking about how you have made a difference in your own school, in your own community. Really makes a difference. So I think your letter of recommendations, personal statements, and then of course your academic achievements, your extra co-curricular achievements, how you've balanced your life while studying also, and while taking part in a lot of co-curriculars as per your interests. So I think all this will make you stand apart if you put them in the right way.
Yeah, and Miss Asta, I've also experienced this, that a lot of students who are aspiring to study abroad. So we have seen a trend that they started, when we talk about the entrance exams from the point of view of sitting for these competitive exams and the entrance exams like SAT, GRE, etc. So any specific advice actually you would like to give to these students?
I get that. So, preparing for entrance examinations, I think one should really, practice, give the practice tests. There are a lot of practice mock tests available. I think they should, as it is said, practice makes a person perfect. So, definitely a lot of practice tests should be taken before you actually give those entrance exams. And then, apart from that also, it's a lot of students in my experience often complain about the fact that whether they prepare for the competitive exams or whether they prepare for the school exams. How do we strike a balance? And parents also say, ma'am, even if the child is scoring less in school exams, it's okay because ultimately it's the competitive exams. No, it's not like that, I would say, because school exams also talk about how consistent you are, and how diligently you're working hard to make a difference. And entrance exam at the same time are equally important. So I think there's a lot of time management that is required when you are planning for giving any kind of entrance exams, and making time for being consistent with practice is the key.
So, Miss Asta, since we are talking a lot about application process also, so a lot of students do ask about, and actually they make a lot of mistakes in the application process. Is there any way that these students can avoid making those kind of mistakes in the application process that you just mentioned?
As I said, it's very important to have your own research on the universities you're applying to, the programs you're applying to, what are their requirements, what are the documents required, and you can't just keep everything for last minute. So you have to discuss it with your counselors, with your guides, who are helping you in applying to your dream destinations or applying for various universities, in terms of keeping a track and following it up. When you are, it's not easy. It's a very long process even at schools to do the documentation for applying. So one needs letter of recommendations, and one needs their predicted scores, there is so much to be collected, and going up to your teachers time and again and asking them if it is ready. And then once you have collected all your documentation, it have a checklist. So generally what we do, we prepare a checklist for every student in terms of their timelines, also what all documents should go to a particular university you are applying to at what time. Yeah, so maybe, and at times students, for example, they're not comfortable sending their midterm scores with the we have quarterly exams. So with the first quarter exams, they're not very comfortable sending. If they're not comfortable sending those scores, they really need to think on improving their scores and then plan ahead. So all this takes a lot of time. And if one is ready with the checklist first and keep following it up, and get the documents verified by their counselors, their guides, within 2 weeks time gap from their deadline, I think then they're on the right frame of mind for their application being successfully submitted on time. So I think that's very important to have a checklist here.
Can you share some insights with our students, with our viewers also, that how should they approach writing personal statements or essays for the application? I think a lot of students are really worried about that aspect also in their applications.
Right. I think personal statements, as it is said, it is called personal. It is very, very personal. So, just, maybe if somebody you have come across who have gone, who've got admission in your dream and university on the basis of their personal statement, you can't just put what the other student had put in your personal statement. So personal statement talks about your entire personality and aspirations. It talks about one's strengths in various areas, and it might also highlight your weaknesses, how you have worked on over the course of time. So it's not like you can't mention about your weak areas. You definitely, in your personal statement and essays, you can talk about your challenging moments, for example, challenging times, whether it's been in your childhood or it's been, later in life in your adolescent period, or probably some experience that has given you knowledge beyond textbooks. For example, working on a project for some social organization, or just any experiment that you have conducted, working as an intern with an organization during your internship time period, you came across certain learning experiences. You can talk about those in your essays and personal statement, I think. And because we all learn from our experiences, and that talks about how well we take our experiences in life, and how open we are to learning at every stage. So definitely one can talk about their challenging moments and weak areas, but in terms, very, very positively, in terms of how you worked on over a course of time, how you really didn't give up, and kept working to improve, and then reach personally at a level where you can say that I have achieved this now. So I think these things, when we explain to students, if they understand well, and if they submit their original work, original essays and personal statements, they definitely increase their chances to get in to the universities they are looking at, or programs they are looking at to study.
I think that's a very important point which Ms. Astha has mentioned about the authenticity of the personal statements and getting into the internships options whenever you have it. And I think one of the questions which is very much linked to the cultural aspects of these countries, wherever you are applying, wherever the students are applying, um, can you mention about any specific aspects of the differences between the cultural and the academic differences, when we have heard a lot about the cultural shocks also that the students, move into. So any specific maybe reason or any specific aspect which you would like to mention with respect to which students should know actually with respect to the cultural and the academic differences when you are actually thinking of applying into the in any kind of foreign university?
We do a lot of spoon feeding in India. So children are used to it. Children are used to it at their homes, children are used to it in school, even the teachers, they will be always telling you what you should do, what you should not do, how you should prepare, what answers to you should prepare for any examination. But outside India, that cultural difference is there. They are more self-reliant. They're from their very early years of life, they're taught about self-reliance. They talk about self-sufficiency. And children who are working all alone, in terms of it's not like they don't have support, but it's just that how readily they will look up to a support, even before giving it a thought, that how they should go about a particular project or assignment or task given. And that's what is, I think, something that becomes challenging for Indian students per se outside, until and unless they have been in those leadership roles where they have single-handedly handled situations while organizing an event at school, where last minute preparing, we do that a lot of times. For example, I also take care of dramatics as my passion in my school. And at times we have experienced this, that students have to prepare a skit just in a day. Yeah, because there's a competition tomorrow and you have to go for it. And there's an expectation of the school, there's an expectation of parents here, that if you're going for a competition, you must win. So, being competitive and doing things very, very last minute and not giving up and taking up that challenge. Such students will be able to accommodate and adjust anywhere in the world. Yeah, any part of the world. But students who always look up to that, we need a lot of time to prepare, how can we just do it in a day? And who will do our script? Ma'am, would you help us? Is there somebody who can help us on this? Maybe then we can participate. Those are the students which are very, very dependent on the system, on the support system that we create for them. And they get habituated. And I think it's with everyone. Even if somebody is there to do things for us, why would we get up and do it? So that is our culture. We have house help, for example, in our homes. And if somebody is cooking for me and one day that cook is not there, I might order from outside and not get up and cook for myself. That is the culture that we see more prevalent here in India, which is not the case outside. And I think our children, because they have been brought up in such environments, when they go there and everything they have to do themselves is a culture shock for them. So to prevent that is why we say, and that is why, co-curricular participation, becomes so important, in your profile, because that talks about how the child will take up challenges when the child is taken from one kind of environment to another kind of environment, or probably that shift from one culture to another culture. So I think if all the parents and students listening start from now, making your children very, very independent in their thought and not just practice. That if I'm all alone, how will I manage?
Right. And being steadfast and being self dependent are the key factors if you really want to fit into the culture, right? I think you have already answered one of my personal query also, when we talk about the strategies that these students can actually use to fit into the culture wherever they are going. Because we have heard a lot about homesickness, we have heard a lot about, the cultural switch and cultural shift and the impact on the students. So you have already mentioned about the strategies that we really need to look into. Another important aspect, Miss Astha, that we keep on hearing from the students is about obtaining the necessary student visas. So how do you support student as a counselor, how do you support students in obtaining the necessary student visas, and what are some common challenges they might face during this process also? So do you also deal with these aspects as well?
Yeah, so of course, children who plan late face most, challenges in this area. So, timelines are very important. And there have been cases where we observed that the child and the parents were not aware when the passport is getting expired, for example. And applying that year can become very, very difficult, because if your visa requirements will not be met, you will not be able to join, your university, or even get the they have those conditional offer letters, so they might not get the confirmation on their university. So it's very important, I think, for students to meet their visa consultants and visa counselors, and how we connect them, looking at, once they get their conditional offers, I think that is the time when they should start for their visa applications. And one should make sure that their financial budgeting is all in place, because that is also one of the most important document one would require while applying for visa. So all those things, have to be looked at much earlier. And in fact, planning has to be done. A lot of planning has to be done for this also.
I think that's one of the basics of studying abroad actually. And this leads to me. This leads to actually another question for you, Miss Astha, wherein students are also worried about the impact of studying abroad with respect to their career prospects as well. So when we talk about post graduation also, so once the students get into the universities abroad, so what are the various impacts, or maybe when we talk about the various future prospects also?
Yeah.
So students are really worried about those aspects as well.
Absolutely, and we are seeing a decline in a lot of career destinations, countries, higher education destinations, because of this reason, that work permit, getting the work permit has become very, very challenging. For example, in Canada now. And again, a rise in the cost of living is one of the factors that can deter their decision to go and study abroad. So it's very important, again, to, once you are there in your graduation, to really study about all these areas, and which country will be more cost effective in terms of living and finding jobs, the job market. So studying about the job market is very important before planning your before planning for extending your stay in a particular country. So I think that research on the job market, the kind of jobs that will be available on the program that you are doing, and the campus placements, building your own alumni network to understand how they have been placed in various industries, and whether the program that you are studying is really globally recognized, so that even if you don't get something where you are currently staying, and look at some other region, your program should be well recognized and well accredited in order to get placed. So all that is very, very important. Your PR is becoming really challenging, and that is why we've seen Canada declining recently. Yeah. So it was at a rise last year, but because these changes happened in terms of making it difficult for the work permit, and student visa though is not difficult, but work permit and permanent residency is becoming now very, very challenging when it comes to Canada, and similarly other countries. So I think these factors really need to be looked at if one is planning to not just go there to study, but to also stay there and work and live. Yeah.
One more, interesting query that we usually get is about gaining work experience during studying abroad, the phase of studying abroad. So a lot of students, we have seen that they actually, they are trying to work and gain some and building on their networks also, even while they're studying in these universities. So we would like to have your opinion also on that. What do you think about that, and what do you suggest the students whether they should work or maybe gain some working experience while studying abroad, and how does it help them?
See, a lot of parents and students definitely look at universities that also, provide a lot of opportunities for students to work simultaneously. A lot of students get, stipend also through which they can, by through these work. Internships through which they can actually cover the cost of their tuition fee, and that is what generally Indian parents are more inclined towards. But if you are getting an opportunity to study in a very, very elite university with a very good program, in a very good program that the university is offering, see, studying at a very high top tier university in a very, very good program means a lot of dedication in terms of your time also. So it can't be that you're missing your classes and then going and working somewhere just to cover the cost. Yeah, because it can be very challenging then later to cope up with the academic expectations and academic requirement of that prestigious institute or university. So always looking for work internships, and then going, I think one really needs to understand that then what one is looking forward to later in life. So I think it's very important. It's good if you're getting a internship opportunity alongside your study, but at the same time, if you can balance it alongside your study there in that university, well and good. But if you feel that it's becoming challenging for you, I think one should focus on the course of study, complete the graduation, and then go in for campus placement interviews probably.
So, Asa, what are the best ways for students to build their network and gain work experience while studying abroad? Because we have seen a trend in students working while studying abroad. So, any kind of ways, any specific ways that they can look into?
Yeah, I think students should look at part-time jobs or internships which are only relevant to their career goals. It shouldn't be like whatever they are getting in terms of internships. For example, working in McDonald's. And just working for the sake of covering the cost shouldn't be the goal. So the goal should be that picking up very, very relevant internships and part-time jobs that really help you build your career ahead, and from which you can gain a lot of experience. So I think one has to be very choosy when it comes to internships, and it's okay if the first year, second year you're not getting any good work internships or part-time jobs. You focus on studying is what I would suggest. And to build network, I think talking to a lot of, again, alumni and taking part in the cultural societies where you are studying is very, very important. Being part of the club, having your own membership to a particular club. There are a lot of clubs that universities and schools have today, and also attending a lot of workshops, seminars, conferences, guest lectures, and all this can help. Career fairs, maybe build networks.
That is very true, actually. And specifically with respect to that only, I would like to ask you, are there any, I mean, as far your experience goes, actually, as a counselor, so are there any specific destination, foreign destinations that students these days are looking up to? Yeah.
Yeah, so see, anyway, US, UK is also rising. Australia is really coming up, but we have seen a decline in Canada because, again, these factors really play a very important role in terms of, getting student visa is not difficult, yeah, but visas do get delayed a lot of times, and then you have to really think in terms of whether once you are there, how you will extend your stay. And in case getting work permit is becoming very challenging in certain countries like Canada recently changed their policies, and also your permanent residency is becoming a challenge. PR is becoming a challenge in countries like Canada recently. So we are seeing a decline in these study destinations recently this year.
Since you have answered and responded with respect to a lot of our queries which generally students have with respect to studying abroad, so Ms. Asta, finally I would really like to ask in person that any specific advice that you would like to give to the students who are totally hesitant in terms of taking the leap to study abroad, because we have seen a trend post covid also, that's one of the factors as well, right? Yes. So we have seen that trend that students are a bit hesitant in terms of taking a leap or making when we talk about opportunities of studying abroad. So what advice would you like to give to our students?
Okay, so absolutely, I think in general, also in life, facing one's fears is very important. Yeah, because of our fears, fear is an inhibitor, fear is an obstacle in our path to success. So, until unless we acknowledge our fears and we face our fears, we can't move forward in life. So, it's okay to be scared of something. It's okay to have one's doubts. It's okay to have one's fears. But at the same time, one should not overlook opportunities for growth. So, by if you are getting a good opportunity by moving away from home and studying somewhere else than your home country, hometown, I think one should really take it as a challenge, positively as a challenge, and that would be my advice to a lot of students. And in case they have any doubts or any fears, they should talk to people who have a good amount of experience living there. Maybe they can network with alumni, and they can talk to alumni there and network with them in terms of understanding the safety and security, the environment, the culture prevalent there before going. That can make them comfortable with the idea of going there and studying. So I think one should really work towards, really work towards not just understanding one's fears, but how can one get over those fears by looking at other aspects. If you want to grow, you want to do something in life, do something big in life, you have to really have courage to overcome your fears by acknowledging them.
So I think and I really feel, through this conversation that studying abroad is indeed a life changing experience for the students. And therefore, making that journey meaningful is one of the tasks that we aim for as counselors, as educationists, right? So I would really like to extend a warm thanks to you, Miss Astha, for sharing such valuable information with us today. And I'm sure that there are a lot of takeaways from today's podcast. And students aspiring to study abroad are going to gain some very meaningful insights as well. This is Dr. Sumbul Abid signing off for the day. But yes, do stay connected for some of our exciting podcasts coming soon. Thank you so much.